You don't want to
Oh,
think
yeah.
that you're going to blow up any second. So they're all off the wall a little bit, but
Talk
like,
about elevated blood pressure.
oh my
Oh.
God, those guys are adrenaline junkies. Most of them skydive, they do anything crazy. It's ER doctor.
We in the green room. Perfect entry.
We are?
Yeah.
We are. I know. Welcome to 2024. No, listen, happy New Year to everybody.
I
And
hope
listen,
everybody
happy
was
holidays.
safe and had a
Right.
good holiday season.
Absolutely. You know, listen, it's cool. You know, here in
like
Florida, I got my sweat. Oh, I know.
love
The
it.
true Floridians. I think we have this conversation every year when we have, but it's been cold.
I love it.
This entire season.
It's a winter. It's
It
like
really
a
is. Yeah.
change. I'm like so excited. We had like a little fire pit and everything. It's all
Yeah,
exciting.
got sweatshirt on and
Sweatshirts,
everything.
sweaters,
Yeah.
and hoodies, and
Yeah.
it's like so nice. And
It can
cozy.
surprise you though, you know, to that extent.
Oh, I feel bad for those who choose vacation time.
Well, that's
to come
true.
down to Florida.
My daughter will be down in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
I'm hoping she catches a good period of time.
It's
But I
still
guess what, we're in
we're
an
up
El
and
Nino.
down, yeah.
So I had the, you know, listen, I do a lot of fun things. And, you know, this was a great one out of San Diego. Cruise out to Hawaii, choppy seas.
Pacific is always
It
choppy,
was,
though.
and it was
Yeah,
cool. It
Pacific
was
is
cool. And it was 54 degrees in San Diego,
Yeah,
actually.
San Diego is
when
chilly.
we got
People
back.
realize that San Diego is
It
not
can be,
can
but it's still
chilly.
beautiful. It's really hilly there and
I love San Diego.
gorgeous.
I
There's
was
Bob Hope.
gonna move to La Jolla
Oh, is that right?
20
Okay.
years ago. Yeah, I love
Like
it
I saw
there.
the little things like the Bob Hope exhibit
Yeah,
for
they
the
do some neat
soldiers.
stuff for soldiers.
and the
Well,
people
they have the big naval
They
base
do.
there, and then
They
Hawaii
do. Bob
also.
Hope was a Clevelander, and I can't get through the green room, so I'm going to do it now. Big shout out to my Cleveland Browns, still alive in the playoff chase. I know it's irrelevant. Bill Belichick
is gone
from the
from the
Patriots.
He's been an
Just starting
establishment
out
there.
into the sandbox. And you know what? I
20-something
want to
years.
start out with the sandbox in 24 because I'll be honest with you, it's going to be choppy seas outside of the sandbox. We were yik-yakking politics before
yeah, it's
coming
a big
into the
year.
green room.
It's
Before,
a big year.
you know, already. Listen, I'll admit, my blood pressure's been up. I came
No,
back
it literally
from
has
vacation.
been up. We're like a little worried here.
She goes, "No, Dr. Gordon, your lower number of your blood pressure is like 120 today. I feel great, you know, and everything. And it's been there before. It's why I retired, you know, from the ER. And I know why it was because it was early in the morning at circadian rhythm, but it has been up. We've checked it here. And I just speak to the innate stress of what we're living under, you know, right now to that extent, because those of us that are on planet A, you know, we truly believe that there's a threat to democracy.
I know, we really do. It's like
We
not
do.
a joke. It really
And
is.
it's not a
Yeah.
joke.
It's not. It's sadly,
and all we can do is what we do with integrity and honesty. And listen, we have our own little patch here in the clinic where we can do good for people. Fortunately, we hear it every day. Big shout out to the staff while I was gone.
Yeah,
everybody, you know, continue to do exactly what they do every single day here. And listen, we've been busy, and I want to invite, you know, those people that don't know yet about medical cannabis. And you know, it was interesting because I was on a seminar last night, and there was somebody that had never heard of Delta 8 and didn't know what it was.
A lot of people don't.
Exactly, because we live it every day. We assume, right, a certain basic level knowledge of what we do every day and how it's helping people in this net. But I just want to say that literally we continue to bring the passion every day because we just have every day we have patients come in.
A lot of cancer patients, a lot of
we do.
We were at the Sarasota Memorial Healthcare System Gala,
right?
And
Great
our name was
beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lovely evening, and our name was up in bright lights for the cannabis clinic, and we had patients come to our table, and it was kind of funny because you're at
Sarasota. When that happens.
It's interesting though because people came up and they're like, "Patients of yours," kind of quietly, like they were like, "What patients?"
Listen, I get it. I get it from Sharkies to Captain Eddie's.
Yeah, it's funny. You're like,
you know,
they're doing great. We love you.
Well, it's fun. It's so much better than it was 7 years ago, and that's glass half full.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's
no, listen. Somehow in 2024, because it's an election year here in Florida, at the state legislative level, everywhere, of course. So that this year's session. Florida legislative session is early. It's already started.
It started.
We watched the state of the state address the other day. number one in all these things, and somehow when we read the stats,
I
and we see
honestly,
this
I don't
46th
know.
in education,
I know
but
we're
somehow we're number one.
number one. I'm like,
Did you hear him
46.
talking about mental health issues?
No.
Because I know we're nowhere.
We're
We're in the
nowhere.
40s
Oh
in
my
that,
God.
in all those
So many things.
categories.
I don't know where. I
But
don't
we're
know
one
what's
here,
that.
one there, one
Yeah,
there.
number
one
one.
there.
Florida's number one. Are you kidding? Most people who move their kids down here come down, they move right back because they're like, oh my God, they're like 3 years behind here. So I don't know where they're getting that number one versus number 46, because most of the country reads Florida's 46th in education. So I don't know.
And during his speech, he actually had the governor, in my opinion, and I play in the sandbox. I'm a sports fan. He actually had, he might not even have noticed it, Ruta, but he had the audacity to have an athlete, a freshman athlete from New College, okay, because
No, he didn't.
because he's changed that institution
Yeah,
now.
because now it's
And now they're bringing in interscholastic sports.
It's a sports college. Since
And
when
now
is
it's a
New
classical,
Oh, you didn't hear? He wants to make it a sports college.
classical university, classic public
Crazy,
university or something. I don't
New
know.
college, which is like the most.
But it was subtle. It was subtle.
What is
But
it?
and listen,
Yeah.
I also watch Speaker Renters. So the Florida Channel, everybody, if you're really interested. We're not. You
Or
just
if
want to
you
take a
want to
good
raise
nap.
your nap or raise your blood pressure, it's one of the two.
Seriously, Florida's a sunshine state. You know, Florida's a interesting place because at a certain point in time, there were great democratic values in this state
Oh
that
my
put
God,
in certain things.
Florida used to be a democratic state, and that's
right.
when all of the good things happened in the
Right.
state. And
Like sunshine laws
sunshine
and this
laws,
and that.
yeah,
So literally everything's on the Florida Channel, and you can watch it. I also watch Speaker Renner's address to the House, and he's talking about limiting social media access to youth and protecting our children, okay, from pornography.
Yet they're saying we want less government. The Republicans want less government, yet they're restricting women's rights.
It's unbelievable.
They're changing.
So the voting rights, they want to get rid of mail-in voting as we know it.
Because Democrats vote by mail, notoriously, and we're good at it. But
I understand it's all restricted voting.
They're doing it on purpose. My God, it's
unbelievable.
ridiculous and so blatantly. And
it is, and it's ugly.
It's ugly, but yet the people of Florida, I'm sorry, you need to all wake up, because like seriously, all of this is happening in front of your eyes, and you're having rights stripped away, and people are like, it's number one. No, it's not.
No,
you're losing your rights. Are you crazy? It's like, I don't know when they're gonna wake up here.
Well, that former guy himself said that he was proud to have terminated. You got to look at the words that he chooses or just stumbles into or something. I don't know. Or is programmed to say,
Mike,
terminating a pregnancy. Abortion. But he's proud to have terminated Roe. So you have to know that limiting of rights.
Yeah, but women don't need rights, right? So, let's go back.
No checking my blood pressure within a half hour after the green room.
Christian Ziegler is gone. That's big news.
Absolutely. So, there was a great article by Chris Anderson this morning in the
Chris Anderson does a great job.
He said this is the biggest embarrassment to Sarasota since Pee Wee Herman. Okay, no. Listen, you'll see it. You'll see it. You'll read it. Since Pee Wee Herman himself.
May he rest in peace.
No, may he rest in peace, because he was Sarasota High grade. He was that. But most people know the incident. But he recovered from the incident. Actually,
he came back later on.
He did, because he approached it up front. And it was actually the point of Chris's article was that it was actually the Sarasota County Sheriff's, I think it was, that took the big hit over it because of what a big deal they made out of it. Because all that happened was that one of their reporters stumbled on the name Paul Rubens, on the log, and then they took it after that and had.
Well, Ziegler now has what, voyeurism charges.
No, what I thought was so interesting about it was the money that he is making from his biz from other Republicans. Yeah. And it goes all the way back, because there was an article to the Bannon days and those that went to jail over the bilking of money to build the wall.
Yeah,
and that was all a lot of it was Sarasota and Southwest Florida based.
It's incredible.
It's great. We
Like,
probably shouldn't talk about it.
no, we are the cradle, unfortunately, of the cesspool. We are. Sarasota County is the cradle. It holds all of the cesspool.
So
and
the
I
so
don't
the
know
school
why.
board meeting comes up next week, next Tuesday, I think it is.
Which I
and-
hope everybody, please, if you're listening, go back out to the school board. We need to put pressure on Bridget until she leaves, honestly. I know she doesn't want to leave and she's gonna go heels like dug in the ground.
Who
but,
lives that way, really?
like,
I don't know.
what do you think you're doing
Can
as
you
an
t-
example for
right.
your girls? I know
To
for your
example of who?
daughters. What are you trying to prove? That you're an
Right.
idiot?
don't
I
know.
mean, come on, like, okay, you're
You know what?
private,
Though?
but
There
you're
was
private
another
life, but
interesting
come
article,
on.
and I'll give another shout out to the Herald Trib because they're a good newspaper, and I enjoy reading it. Saying that the devil that you know may be better than the devil that you don't know, because if she resigns, then
No, because there's nobody else, like, there's nobody that
Well, that's
extreme.
the-
Not that
yeah,
we know of.
I
Yeah, there's
know,
nobody
I
that
know.
extreme. I mean, we have like Rose, what's her face? Karen Rose.
Yeah, there's others
She's a
out
little
there.
extreme too, but like
know.
she's not as bad, even she's not as bad as I think Bridget is. So yeah, we have some loonies in the
So Florida
our
session has
state,
started.
just-
The Florida session has started, and I want to give a shout out to Florida Can, who's having their lobby day, Capitol Day next Tuesday, I think it
Tuesday,
is. And you know, we're a sponsor of it. I don't think I can make it up this year, which I don't like because I do like to be there. And there are some interesting bills up there this year, and I want to give shout out to Maria Hurley, who I know is a watcher of the Green Room. And this is a list that she made up. It's called The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. There are interesting cannabis related bills up there in Tallahassee this year. And some of them, listen, are great for patients. We'll see if any of them get legs, simple ones like veterans cards for free, right? And that's something that, you know, comes up every year, and you would think that that would be a given, the least we can do, right? We'll see. Now, there's a very important protection of parental rights, right, bill, which prohibits a court from denying or restricting certain parental rights based solely on a parent's medical marijuana use. Now, I thought that we had that already, actually. I know. So that was kind of interesting. And then, there's packaging and labeling, some of that. Now, there's a very big hemp bill.
There needs to be a lot for hemp.
Well, there's a very big hemp bill that is sponsored actually by Senator Colleen Burton, who heads that Senate committee. She was interested last year in getting it taken care of. It, in her mind, I don't think was. To that extent, there was a lot of lobbying in the hemp space last year, and they have the money to do it. And they changed the course, I think, of the bill last year. But the important thing about this bill is that it actually has a House companion bill. And once again, coming out of Senator Burton herself, I think this one's going to have legs. Absolutely is very focused on public health, public safety. Absolutely. There's packaging limits, and surely making sure there's no appeal towards protecting the children, of course. Always one of Florida's priorities, and to make no joke over it.
No, it should be.
But more importantly, it is once again looking at the limits of the THC content that's allowed to be sold in the smoke shop environment, gas station environment. Fairs, events. Did you get to that point of the bill? I know I have the bill in front of me, and it's what we do every day. And you know, people say, "What's your dog in the fight when it comes to the hemp space?"
It's just safety.
It is safety.
It's just safety. It comes down to safety.
And my point is, I have a lot of friends in the hemp space, and a lot of people that are in small business that depend upon certain things happening in Florida to allow them to continue to do what they consider to be legitimate business. And here's my point about that. And it's always been my point, and we've talked about it in the Green Room before. The state needs a central testing site for every cannabinoid product sold in the state of Florida, so that at the wholesale level, be it produced in Florida, shipped into Florida, allowed to be sold on the internet in Florida. It's hard to control.
It's hard to control. And this is the thing that I don't like. Really, why is it that hemp, they have that little loophole, and look, you can get it from outside Florida. Well, medical marijuana is still very vertical. You still have to grow it, plant it, seed it, marketed, package it in Florida. Yet the hemp space is totally not regulated, and it's really not cool. It's not cool.
whatever the
That's just
regulation
not-
may be, a significant part of it needs to be a state stamp that the safe tested in Florida
Yeah.
for heavy metals, leads, mold, fungi, all the stuff that
Obvious,
everything
yeah,
is, but
they
also
need it, but
to
wow.
guarantee that if it's a Delta 8 product that you're selling, that that's what's in the product, right? And you can't get every solvent little bit out. I got it, but as pure as it can be. The other synthetics, things like that. But the point is, they put a limit in the bill at 2 milligrams, right, for those products, and 20 milligrams per package, which was fought off last year. And we'll see what happens with it this year. But we don't have a dog in the fight. But my dog is making sure that everything that's sold on a shelf in Florida, be it gas station or, and I mean it, high quality CBD
Even
shop.
CBD.
I got it. I got it.
I did a lot of research, looking
Absolutely.
into things.
No,
It's
that's
frightening.
well known.
It is. It's honestly, it's really not
People have
good.
done that, and
Yeah,
then people
it's
have done
not
that
good.
from all the way from Amazon all the
Yeah,
way to
it's-
Marijuana Moment.
Yeah,
And people,
it's scary. And
absolutely.
the crap that's in there, I know patients.
I often say I want to go to one of the festivals and go to the 10 of the tables and buy the various products and then pay to have them tested.
Individual lab tested.
Absolutely.
I agree
Now
with
the
that.
lab testing can be questionable too, and that's another issue.
I don't think
But
it's
absolutely,
really
in the medical market, a much, much, much higher quality of testing, reliability of testing, and quite frankly, requirement of testing. So to me, it may add some at the wholesale level, price wise, retail level, ultimately to the consumer. But to me, it's just a critical step that needs to be taken for public safety. So we'll see about that bill.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple others. To the extent now, one very important bill that doesn't seem to have gotten legs, but was in the press, so I want to address it. Representative Ralph Mazzullo, who's one of the two doctors in the House of Representatives, he's late term as compared to Dr. Rudman, who's early term. But Mazzullo actually has come out with a preemptive strike, so to speak. Now, here's very important. We get a question every day, Ruta, of course. What's going on with the legalization, the recreational, so to speak, legal adult use movement in Florida? Well, here is the update on that, everybody. I get asked it every day. It's gone to the Supreme Court. There's been oral arguments, and now we're waiting for the Supreme Court to rule. Ruling expected in March. Here's a very interesting point, Ruta. Session's over March 8th. Most people feel that we're not going to get that ruling from the Supreme Court before session's over, for sure. So we're going to find out from the Supreme Court whether they're going to allow it on the ballot in November, and then the people will have a chance to vote. 60% have to vote positive. Everybody assumes that's going to be easy, and I assume it would be, but there's precedent that Oklahoma, for example, had a pretty vigorous medical program that a lot of people were satisfied with, and they didn't pass their legal adult use bill. I'm not saying that would happen in Florida, but and I agree that most likely it's going to pass probably with 70% of the vote, even if it only needs 60, but you never know. But the point is, Representative Mazzullo, even before the people have a chance to vote on it, or know if we're going to have a chance to vote on it, is actually, and the bill's been pulled back. I didn't get a co-sponsor, best I know. We'll see if it comes back, and I think in the future it will come back. Putting a 10% THC cap on recreational flower. Now, to put that in context, in the old days, and Ruta, you may remember these days, I know you weren't a big participant in this, but pot, dope, weed, grass was brown, there were seeds.
Yeah, no,
you would roll it down the tray. Don, you may have seen brickweed in your day. I got it. But that's the way it used to be. But that was a 6, 7, 8% THC, Delta 9 THC product, always has been Delta 9, always will be Delta 9 on the recreational market, because that is the key that fits into the CB1 receptor to give that quote unquote intoxicating, mild hallucinogenic effect of smoking a joint, eating a brownie. But the point is, now we have 23%, 25%, 30% Delta 9 THC, green, sticky, leafy, crystally. If you find a seed, it's a celebration, because maybe you can't grow in Florida. But you don't see seeds. It's a different quality of cannabis. But the point is, it's still Delta 9 THC. So, and it'll always be Delta 9 THC. And it fascinates the prohibitionists because to them, it's like 3-2 beer, in the old days, which is what you were allowed in Ohio between
What's
18
that,
and
3-2?
21. 3-2% beer was what you were allowed to do in Ohio between the ages of 18 and 21.
Oh my God,
so
how do you
it was a
regulate
starter
that?
beer. They did. They sold it 3-2 beer.
Wow.
It had a band on the top. One of my friends from the old days will probably tell. Red Band, I think, was a top.
I don't know.
3-2
Europe,
beer.
it's like
No, I got
16
it.
and they're all cool with it.
So Rep Mazzullo, it was trying
Prohibitionism
to
in the United
preempt,
States.
so to speak, the vote of the people to say that, well, even if you do legalize it or make it a recreational legal adult use program, we're going to cap that sale of flower on that side of the dispensary. Wouldn't affect us medically.
I agree with that. And
Well, no, I got it. Hang
do,
on.
on a lot of levels. I do.
Here's here's the interesting point to that. Now, of course, when that gets presented, there's a mess to it because it's hard to, and it puts another layer on law enforcement that's almost completely impossible because it is. I mean, there's a lot. It's almost impossible to do, but I've always called it red card, green card medical, no taxes, higher flower percentage, 50 milligram edible available on the medical side. This exists in Colorado already. On the rec side, taxes, 10 milligram edible only. Now, they don't have a restriction on their flower in Colorado, of course. But my point is, I think that it draws a certain conservative vote towards voting for it
adult use then,
because the conservatives know it's coming at them, like a light at the end of the tunnel, and they'd rather have it restricted, and of course it's going to be taxed. We know that.
Well, the only other thing is because you have to remember too, and I think this is why
it's almost impossible to do. The dispensaries are going to go crazy if they
we're also a state where we're known to have like spring breakers, vacation kids come down, and I think I think it's a smart move because you're going to have them still.
Well, I say this. I say this. I say this. People get angry at me for it, but it's true. Guy coming down from Ohio with his kids to Disney World is still going to go to the dispensary and walk in and buy a 10%, nice, smelly, sticky, terpy,
that's fine,
THC joint. They are. Now they can go to the smoke shop now. Okay, hang on, because there's that hemp-derived THCA pre-rolls everywhere. Don, you've seen them.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's in them because I won't test them. So it's a crazy world already.
It is. It needs to be
and listen, there's going to every advocate in the world. Okay, believe me when I tell you, and the stronger the advocate, the more pissed off they're going to be with that type of capping. Okay, on it. But Florida's an interval step state. It just is. And you just have to look at the recognition of how things probably will come down to the state. It's not just Florida. Ohio's going through the same thing.
A lot of states
they voted for legal adult use, but their legislature.
And
we'll see. And I tell everybody, you don't know what the sausage is going to look like coming out on the other side.
Because they're all a lot of the states that did go full rec, they're pulling back because they're having issues. So
it's the advantage of medical is we can educate. We get a chance to educate everybody 100%. When they come in as to what. So Don, here's our next task. And Don, our producer back there, does a lot of things for me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
No, we're doing a Rotary. I'm going to the Rotary on February 1st.
Women's thing, they are actually going to.
We got things going on
in January.
I got a new talk, and it's easy. It's going to take about 8 to 10 slides. But you know what it's called? It's called Marijuana 2024 because. Even in the 7 years since we started the practice for the general public, everything has changed.
Yeah, there's
and when I get in front of a Rotary, okay, and I start simply with, do you really know what marijuana is today? Okay, compared to what it was back in 1969. It's that image of the guy on the front of the zigzag paper smoking the Delta 9 8% THC joint. Whereas now in medical, green leafy crystally at 30%, and in the smoke shop, who the hell knows what it is? Seriously. And every citizen that comes down to Florida or lives in Florida, we assume that people know these simple things that we live with every day, but I guarantee you.
Oh my God, if you took a poll on the street,
absolutely.
I'd say 1% right now.
And there's gonna be such an appreciation, I think, of the general public, and having that explained to them, actually, what are we seeing when we're driving down 41 right now, and we look to the left and we see CBD, Delta 8, we're in a smoke shop, we see this, we see that, we go in to buy a bottle of wine, or we see a CBD display in the drugstore. I mean, whatever it may be. It's a simple talk for us.
Right.
But I think just the listen to the ER, and I think one of the reasons I was a pretty damn good ER doc was I always knew the audience that I was speaking to. When I was calling the neurosurgeon to talk to him about the patient in front of me that was having the stroke, I was speaking to the leaves of the tree, so to speak, that guy educated all the way up here. When I went out to talk to the family in the waiting room, you would talk at a different level and to the trunk of the tree, so to speak, right? So to me, that type of talk, right now, Don,
full plant talk.
It is a whole. It's just it's that 30-second elevator speech that it's not just Delta 9 THC, but all the cannabinoids, CBD being the most important, but all the other minors, but also that whole discussion about that gray market. What are you seeing in the smoke shops? What are you seeing, God forbid, in the gas stations?
No, but
why
people are
don't you
confused.
buy
But
that? They are
people
confused.
honestly,
Absolutely.
and I think the problem is, like, nowadays, I think marijuana is so complex and it's over most people's heads. So, like, I remember I did the interview for the Venice Chamber, and one of the panel judges, he asked me specifically, he goes, honestly, he goes, you see CBD, THC everywhere you go nowadays. So he goes, what makes you guys so different? And he's like, and people don't know. They don't know. They really truly do not.
So that's why the 30-second elevator speech contains the second half, which is it's not just Delta 9 THC that you have to understand. You have to have an understanding about all the cannabinoids, both on the medicinal side and listen, rec, and I'm going to use this joke, and everybody can use it now. And I told the guys in the meeting last night, you can spell rec two ways. It could be short for recreational, REC, or what's the other way to spell rec, everybody? WRECK.
Yeah.
They have,
Yeah.
and listen, I don't blame Nikki Freed, dear friend of the show, and personally, and Holly Bell. I don't think they had that intended consequence, okay, or unintended consequence of knowing necessarily what was going to happen in the commercial hemp space. On the recreational side, I think their intention was more industrial CBD. I don't think anybody really anticipated the Delta 8.
No, I think it was definitely.
I really don't. But on the other hand, we didn't get it done properly early on.
Always follow the money.
Well, no, agreed.
Yeah, because if we ever see they had investments in that stuff, then where.
Agreed. But getting back to, to the Representative, Mazzullo effort, and everything else as we go forward, we commit as a clinic to being here, staying active, educating patients, and listen, it's always going to be about safety, and to me, quality of product will always be, our battle. Labeling and testing, better research, more research.
Patients come in that are really very sick.
Got to maintain medical.
Very sick. We have to maintain.
Shout out to my daughter Carly up in New York. Called me and told me that when the medical dispensaries up there that she used to work for, Sunnyside, closed, just out, gone. The rec market has just kind of taken over. Their medical profits are they just closed the medical side. So patients are being abandoned.
Honestly, I hope
and that's
something
Florida
that we need to look at. And I think the legislators actually need to look at that too. Look at the
roadmap.
roadmap. This is the thing that I don't understand. It's been around now for a while, and you need to start, I think, as a community, as a state, as legislators, they need to start looking at, we have examples already of people that have done it, and they have to go see, they can see what the train wrecks were following every kind of decision for every state. And here you go, like medical all of a sudden shutting up. Are you kidding me? You have patients who are truly sick, stage 4 cancer, terminal, just want relief. They want something high quality. You don't want to give a sick patient something that you don't even know what's in there. So there's a lot to learn for us still. I think a lot.
Absolutely. And listen, we're going to stay involved, stay active. pay attention,
Yeah.
but listen, these 2 months and we've learned Florida. Listen, once again, Florida Channel active, on my computer for the next 2 months. And we do watch and we watch for a reason. And, listen, that's the advantage of having it only, 2 months out of every, year. Can't get
Yeah.
aggravated.
Although
as
this
much,
year they've been up there a lot because
They
there were
will,
so
they-
many special
special
sessions,
sessions.
a lot of special
Yeah.
sessions. And we still have telehealth and that's still on the books and
I actually heard speculation that
That might get
DeSantis
back.
may attempt to try and amend to see if he can get a third term.
oh yeah, I could see that because he was running for office or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And now he needs something else to do while he, waits to see.
I
what,
don't understand why people just can't step down and leave like Trump. Just leave, go away,
Leave.
go
I
play
know.
golf.
So just to wrap on that, this is our first show at 24. 24 is going to be a wild ride.
Yeah,
And this show, the Green Room, started originally as therapeutic.
as therapeutic.
For Ruta and I to navigate through the choppy waters of what, once again, Earth, one, I guess, or Planet A, Earth One, whatever we're going to call it. Listen, I've always believed in the rule. I've always believed in the rule of law. We're
Most of us do. The
most of us
majority
do.
of
We
us
try to
do.
live that way.
do
We
that.
try to live life time
With honesty
and integrity
truth,
and to give
morality,
to others.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, that was the thing that, and Chris Christie, when he dropped out, he skewered Trump yesterday. And one of the things he said is true. If we have another 9/11 attack, you know who's diving into that bunker first before thinking about the American people?
Oh, it's gonna
Donald
be
Trump.
Trump.
Absolutely. He's always going to do what's best for himself.
Oh, of course.
He does not.
If people don't see he's a narcissist by now, I don't know.
No,
we
I still encounter people every day.
Every
Listen,
day.
I'm to, I guess, go over the cliff, but I hope we don't all go over
I just don't
at
want
the
to
same
go on
time.
that same
I know,
cliff.
me
That's
neither.
for
But we're going to be here.
Well, happy
We're going to be here to make sure that we therapeutic, therapeutically.
And up
help
until
people.
November and post-November, it's gonna be like.
It is. Gonna be
So
crazy.
anyways,
we'll be here for the
have a
ride.
great weekend, everyone. See you next
See you
week.
next